Someone once said that you can't go home again, but they lacked vision. And a temporal discombobulator.
How's it going, everybody? This is Kynkie. I'm here today with novapunkX, and we have a special guest with us today, Dez, and we're bringing you another Over a Beer. Today we're going to be talking about a big hitter from this past BlizzCon, Classic WoW. It's going to probably be a pretty long video, so if you want to just throw that volume up and do some work around the house or something, it's probably going to be more of a podcasty type video, so just sit back, relax, and enjoy what crap we have to talk about this awesome game. Dez, myself, and Novapunk all have some experience, varying degrees of experience in Classic WoW, and when we heard, I probably was more excited than the two of them combined, but when we heard about the plans that Blizzard had to re-release Classic WoW, I think it's safe to say that we were all pretty damn excited about what was going to happen. And we're going to talk about what we're excited for, what we're nervous about, and let's just start talking about that. So, Dez, do you wanna bring up some points that you're excited for this release?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on. I don't have as much experience as you when it comes to World of Warcraft, especially Classic, but I did enjoy it. I did. I got up to like 40 something as a warrior and did a bunch of PvP. And one thing I remember about that game is just the world PvP, man. Like it doesn't get no. It better.
Actually existed.
You don't have too many games that do this, and I think that's what I missed most, and also what I'm worried about, because like we were talking the other day, I'm just depending on when their release schedule is, or whether they put out honorable kills too early, it could ruin that experience. It could ruin giving that back to the community, which is the whole point of bringing it back. So I think that's where my worries stand the most.
So that would be your sole worry about
I think so.
Oh wow, man, there's a lot of things I'm worried about compared to you.
Well, yeah, you have much more experience with the raids and stuff, so yeah.
Well, I think something else that I should say that I've played WoW off and on since it was released. In Classic, I mained a hunter, and I did every raid except for Naxxramas, and I dabbled in PvP a little bit. For those of you guys listening wondering what my experience was. And at Novapunk, you want to tell them what your experience was with Vanilla? Or Classic, rather, excuse me.
I'm very experienced with kynkie.
Oh,
you mean with WoW?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mostly delved into PvP, battleground area stuff. I didn't really touch any dungeons or raids or anything. I put a lot of time into battlegrounds, though. It was good. I was climbing the ranks and stuff. It was actually really sad when they made the the Battle Lord or whatever, the highest rank in PvP that could only be obtained by one person. When they removed that little thing, that was kind of sad, because me and a friend worked really hard to try to get to that.
All right, so did they? I can't remember. Did they change that in Vanilla, or did they wait until Burning Crusade to take that away?
I'm pretty sure it was Vanilla, because I never bought Burning Crusade.
Okay, so what kind of PvP system are you gonna look for in Classic? Then are you hoping that it's gonna be the older system or the newer? Well, I would guess obviously be the older one.
Yeah, I really like the older one. Give you something to work towards. The guy that was holding the top spot couldn't hold it forever. He would lose points and could lose his spot.
You had to constantly be playing, because if you didn't play, it would just decay naturally. kind of like
Yeah, exactly.
SR does in Overwatch. Once you get to a certain point, it'll just start to decay unless you continue to play and continue to win.
Do you think that's a good way of doing it?
Oh, I think it has its ups and downs. I mean, I do enjoy how it is like right now and how it got changed to where you just have points and you gain every time you go into a battleground and every time you go into an arena, and you get those points and you can spend them on gear and stuff. I do like that. I guess it's kind of not that anymore, but that's what it changed to in late vanilla.
I know
I do-
the old system isn't very casual friendly, but
Yeah,
I still
that's
think
what
it's
I'm.
a good system.
I think it would be good if they could keep that, but I think they would need to modify it just a little bit to not decay as quickly as it did. Because if I remember correctly, if you didn't play, if like you had to go, if you were on vacation for a week or something, you couldn't play for a week, you could lose like months worth of work.
I think Josh, you and Pat had the same exact complaint when you were talking to me about it, huh?
Yeah, Pat wasn't very happy about it because he took a break and decayed a lot, but I don't think it decayed. I don't remember it decaying that fast, but I was in college and had massive amounts of time to play.
I was in high school still, and I remember my friend. He was trying to do the same thing, but on the Alliance side for a Warlock, and I remember he went away on Christmas break, and when he came back, he had lost a bunch of ranks, and he pretty much quit the game because he got so pissed off.
Sounds like Pat.
Sounds probably like a lot of people, but
Yeah.
I still thought it was a cool system because it actually gives you something to achieve.
Well,
Yeah.
that unachievable goal, that just seemed ridiculous. But like when you see people with it, you're just like, oh my god, that's so cool.
I don't think it would be bad. I think they should, if they're... Now, this kind of brings me to something I read on Reddit a couple days ago, was a concept of design principles for the game versus content.
Yeah.
Like, I would be okay with them having like a mixture of the two. Kind of like how they have rankings right now, to where you go into your battlegrounds and you go into your, well, I guess arenas were in Burning Crusade, but you go into your battlegrounds and you do everything, and you get a ranking. And your ranking goes up and down depending on how you perform and how you lose and everything, just like it does in retail right now. But then those points that you actually get from the battlegrounds are what you use to buy the gear, instead of you being dependent on a rank to buy gear. Because vanilla was, I mean, there was a decent amount of gear dependency in that. Like, it was easy. I mean, yes and no, there was. I mean, certain classes didn't require it as much. Like, hunters could solo bosses if they stack spell power.
Right.
So, I mean, I would just worry about that, especially since I know that there's probably going to be a large portion of the community that's going to be playing both retail and classic.
The only complaint I have with that, and I know it's probably not a popular opinion, but I like the fact that, hey, you made the highest rank, you get this cool set of gear.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they could do that for other things, though, instead of it being you get the best gear. It's not just, hey, you get the coolest gear. It's, hey, you get the best gear.
Right.
So it makes it harder for other people to even compete with you.
Yeah, I'm okay with there not being like massive stats on it, but
yeah, like
some sort of cool reward.
Well, that's how they kind of do it now.
You know?
Yeah, that's how they do it now. Is at the end of every season, the highest players for whatever rank they achieve get a special mount that nobody else in the game can get. So, like, yeah, that would be one way that you could solve, kind of like mix those two problems. But I'm not really worried about any PvP stuff. I am worried about changes that they'll make.
You don't worry about the PvP stuff being mixed together, like the release schedules. Like, it's just like PvE.
No.
If you mix up the release schedules, it can.
But see, I'm not as worried about the release schedules of the PvP for vanilla, because the PvP, I mean, honorable kills weren't put in the game at launch. It was well after launch that those got put in, and then it was even after that battlegrounds were put in. So it was a long time before we even had battlegrounds.
Right.
And I remember when they first came out, everybody was queuing for Warsong Gulch. Everybody was at the freaking instance place where you had to talk to the NPCs. Like,
and it was more
there.
than that. You had to, like you just brought up, you had to go to the NPC, which created battlegrounds outside of the battlegrounds. It was freaking crazy, man.
Yeah, it was that was a lot of fun, but I feel like
please no fucking duty finder, please.
Oh, if they put that in, then I'm not gonna play.
Well, because aren't they called something else for PvP? It's not duty finder.
The battle masters.
I just meant
battle masters.
I don't like the insta queue from wherever you are sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I think it was in vanilla that they added the battle masters, where like in Ironforge you could go to, I don't remember what the name of the place was, but it was over by the hunter trainers. You could go over there and talk to one of 4 guys and get into a different PvP instance. It would queue you up for AV or Warsong Gulch or Arathi Basin.
On the same thread real quick, I remember playing and having like the other alliance or the horde or alliance, whatever side you were on, the opposite one coming into villages and like attacking while you were out questing and shit. So that's some cool shit you don't see anymore.
Dude, it's just going back to the main towns and being like, talking to the top guilds, like, hey guys, like I can't quest right now.
Safe inside the main town, but if you went outside, you felt unsafe.
Yeah, no matter where you were.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think the release, like, I think if on launch they had like honorable kills on launch, I don't think that would be a big deal because everybody's going to be trying to level up. I don't think you're really going to get much people ganking from the start of the game. Yeah, you'll get those assholes here and there that have no life and spend like 4 hours straight of no sleep to try and get to level 60. And then they'll go around and they'll be ganking low-level people.
You don't think like Ashenvale will have that sort of duality there?
Well, I think it will, but I think that's what can really bring out. I don't think it'll be enough to hinder the game experience. And if it does anything at all, I think it's just gonna bring more actual world PvP back into it because you're gonna say, hey, we need to get a group of guys together and actually go kill this bitch.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I miss.
Exactly.
And speaking on stuff like that, you guys didn't do rating, but man, let me tell you, going to Molten Core and BWL, 40 people. If there was a guild of the opposing faction that had a raid at the same time, holy shit, we spent nights for 3 hours just fighting other guilds, just all night, just killing each other constantly.
Dude, I heard even before the raids, like you had to prepare, like you had to kill world bosses to get world boss buffs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
and that was
that was a thing. Like even more than that, like if you wanted to be a hardcore raider, you had to farm for hours on end just to get like potions and fire resist gear or nature resist gear, depending on which raid you're going to. It was a lot of effort to get into raiding.
Right. I love the attunement process, man.
That's what I was gonna say. That was something else that that you don't have anymore is the attunement process, which is something that I'm excited for. Is like the character progression system. Like right now, once you get to the cap on live right now, it's like, okay, now I can just go start doing this, or now I can just go start doing that.
Right.
Hitting cap doesn't feel as impactful.
No.
And it hasn't since like Wrath of the Lich King. It just hasn't felt impactful anymore. It's just, okay, I'm just doing this to get by so that way I can actually do what I want to do. Like leveling from 1 to 60 in Classic was actually part of the whole experience. That was a lot of fun.
Right. I mean, you gotta have that foreplay. I mean, you can't just jump right into it, right? you gotta have the little bit beforehand. It's the build up to it, right?
Yeah, like it does. It is like when you go through the whole quest line for tuning yourself to Molten Core, it's like you're doing this insane quest chain just to get into a place that you're probably gonna spend hours and hours and hours in before you even get to the last boss. And then once you get to the last boss and you finally kill him, it's like, oh my god, those last 3 months I've been preparing to take on this guy, and I've been trying to get to Ragnaros, and I finally killed him. Oh my god!
Right.
And then it's all right. Now let's do the same thing, but for Blackwing Lair.
Right.
That I'm looking forward to that a lot.
I'm looking forward to you bringing me through that because,
Same here.
like D-Rock, I have never been in there.
Yeah.
So this is something that I'm worried about, but also would be okay with them changing as long as they make other changes. In raids, you only had 8 debuff slots on, or I don't say in raids, but like on mobs in general, you had only 8 debuff slots. So warlocks couldn't dot, hunters couldn't serpent sting a lot of the times, warriors would get kicked if they spec'd into deep wounds.
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of room for dots to be applied to bosses because warriors needed Sunder Armor for 1 slot, so there's already 1 of your 8 slots taken up for the warrior to be able to just tank, because Sunder Armor was your threat builder back in the day.
Okay.
So you only have 7 slots.
They fix
I'm-
this or leave it?
I would be okay if they fix it, because the reason, from what I've read,
you're getting
the
into
reason
balance.
well, hold on. That goes back to game principles versus content.
Okay.
As long as if they fix that, I would want them, because at that point you could make the argument that some classes would have to be reworked, because all of a sudden, hey, now warlocks can dot in raids and hunters can use serpent sting and so on and so forth. If they do that, as long as they rebalance the classes that would benefit from that to make them not overpowered, then I'd be fine with that.
But you don't think
And-
it'd screw up other things? Like, PvP and PvE were so closely tied together that, like, Ret Paladin was just garbage in PvE, but he was amazing in PvP.
Well,
I think they could just
they're gonna have to
redo the
change
boss.
that anyways.
Like they could just rebalance the boss to accept it. I'm guessing that at the time that was a technical limit.
It was. At least that's what I've been reading. It was a technical limitation. So I would imagine that would just be something that to be like, hey guys, we're not gonna like dumb down our system so that way it's 8 debuff slots instead of the 128 or whatever it is. I don't know what the number is, but I would imagine that they would. But I just hope that they rebalance everything so that way, not like warlocks wouldn't become overpowered or anything like that. But to your point about PvP, they did have a lot of issues in Classic with PvP, to where if a rogue was good, a rogue could just keep you stunned forever and a day, and there would be no way for you to kill them.
For sure.
So there's obviously issues like that they're going to want to address, because I don't see, with the way that the communities for these type of games are now, I understand that they're targeting a specific audience, but the second somebody goes in there with the expectation that, oh, if a rogue goes and kidney shots me and I'm only going to be stunned for like at most 6 seconds, and then I can turn around and slap him in the face with my big 200 axe. No, that's not how Classic was. And if you throw somebody in there expecting that they're going to have the biggest shit you've ever seen, and Blizzard's going to have to find a way, they're going to have to find a balance between, okay, how do we make this a classic experience, but at the same time allow people that never played it to have a good time and not get frustrated and pissed off and just quit.
If I recall, it was set up like a traditional RPG where there was always a weakness. Like somebody had a weakness to somebody else. It wasn't just 1-for-1 all the time. It wasn't based on skill. It was based on you and your knowledge of the game and how it works. So like who's weak to you, and that's the one that you go after.
Yeah, to an extent, but in that same argument, if you're thinking of 1v1ing a rogue, like I said before, the rogue being able to stun lock somebody for literally an hour, it didn't matter who they were doing it against. They could do it to any class they wanted to.
Okay.
Like there was nobody that rogues, like, sure, it would take a rogue longer to kill a warrior than it would take to kill a mage or a priest or a warlock. Probably wouldn't want to go after a warlock if you're going to auto attack him to death because of the pet, but that's besides the point. But what I'm getting at is the rogue didn't have a weakness. Like, didn't matter. If they stun locked you for an hour, it doesn't matter what you are, you're dead. So I think they're gonna have to do some kind of balancing like that. But
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean,
And
I've heard the same complaints about druids and their rooting and all that stuff. So
yeah, like there was no diminishing returns back in the day. So that's a pretty
that's a
big
game
issue.
changer. You don't think about it.
Exactly. Like who would think about that when that gets announced? Like, oh, guess what, guys? We're gonna just throw it all on a server and you guys can go play in about 3 hours. I mean, nobody's really gonna be thinking about that. Something else that I'm. Oh, go ahead, Nova.
Oh, go ahead, because I was going to change gears a little bit.
I'm gonna completely change gears on you. This was something that you touched on a little while ago. The communities, and I really hope that looking for dungeon and looking for raid do not get introduced, because ever since those were put into the game, to me it really feels like it killed the community. I mean, before that, if you could make a name for yourself on a server, like, hey, this kynkie guy, he's a really good holy priest. If you need a healer, just message him and pay him 100 gold and he'll go heal anything for you and you won't die. Like, you used to be able to get recognition like that on servers.
Yeah, there was
Back in
also
the day.
the opposite of that, where you were just fearful of certain people.
Exactly. Like you see this horde Tauren warriors like named Marbles, and you're like, hell no, stay away from that guy. You run the opposite direction when you see him. Plus
You're even build a name too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, guilds to an extent do that nowadays still, but it's only really like the world first 10 guilds that build names for themselves like that anymore. But
So I know I'm going to steal your WoW thunder a little bit, but that's what makes me so excited about Ashes of Creation. The fact that you have to work together to build the node, and everybody works together on the node, and the community kind of drives the server.
yeah, it's something to look forward to with that game for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad that some games are kind of looking into it, and that's another thing why I'm really excited about classic WoW getting popular, is that you look at MMOs nowadays and everybody's copying World of Warcraft, but they're copying World of Warcraft from like present day, right?
Yeah, they're
So-
not copying if MMOs really want to be successful, they have to go and look at Classic
Yeah.
and look at Burning Crusade and look at half of the stuff in Wrath of the Lich King, because some of that stuff was
So
fucking
the stuff,
spot on.
the stuff without Duty Finder is what you're telling us.
Well, Duty Finder was in Wrath of the Lich King. Duty
Right.
Finder came in Wrath of the Lich King, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you're right. It's just
But-
funny. It's funny.
yeah.
Like that's when the game was hot, like real hot,
But
like super.
It's there. There's a whole bunch of things that you have to consider, though. I mean, it's not just that. That is a big part of it, yes. And like actually having to run to Molten Core, run to Blackwing Lair, or run to where Ashen Vale was it? Wherever the hell the Warsong Gulch queuing place was, I don't remember. I can see it in my head, but I can't remember what it was called. Like running to those places actually either get into the raid or get into the PvP instance, like running to Upper Blackrock Spire or Mardon, Dead Mines, stuff like that. Like that's where you get all the interaction between the Horde and the Alliance. That's where you get all of the epic and memorable times you're going to have with the game. And you also, when you're not just hitting Q up and then you get into a dungeon, you don't say anything to anybody, you just DPS, you kill all the things and you leave.
Oh, it's not even that. It's just like if you think back on doing quests, like the questing wasn't anything special, but it was broken up by all of these moments.
Yeah,
And
because
when these moments go away, you're just left with mindless questing.
Because
Yeah,
everybody
and
was forced into the world instead of
Right.
sitting when they're max level. They just sit in the main city and queue up for shit.
Yeah, and I mean,
I
having
can play
maybe
devil's advocate a little bit here, and I can see how the system is designed to make it easier for somebody who works all day to come home. They can just queue up for 4 or 5 things, get in whatever comes first.
That wasn't the game, though.
Fun, but
Like, the game wasn't made for those people.
I agree. I'm just trying. Like, I want them to not have that feature. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so I understand that point, but if you're going to be the kind of person, like, that would probably be me. Like, I come home, I only have a few hours every night to play games, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the time I put my kid to bed, and by the time I need to get to bed so that way I can get a couple hours of sleep before I have to go wake up and go to work the next day. That's what guilds are for.
Right.
That's what the community is for. You get yourself into a good guild, make some good friends, you hop on at 8:30, say, hey guys, do you want to run Marden tonight? They say no, you say, okay, let's make a plan for it. You guys want to do it tomorrow night? You're not going to miss much from missing out on one night of gaming.
Right.
I mean, that's what these communities are actually for. It's to, like...
But this is the MMO market trying to suck in more business with single player people that don't want to interact. So they make it super easy so you don't have to interact with anybody. You can queue up, run it, exit, queue up, run it, exit.
That's the beauty of Classic, and one of the reasons why I'm so excited for it is that it was technically, if you look at it super technically from a game design standpoint, it was a better game.
But that's the beauty.
No shit.
Like,
that's what
if you
MMO
just
is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Massive multiplayer.
But
not queue up single player and do your own shit over.
It's not that the new one isn't. It's not that it isn't good. It's good. It obviously it attracts a lot of people, but there are a lot of games that attract a lot of people that are not good. You know what I mean? Like Clash of Clans or whatever.
I don't know if
I don't
you
want
guys
to point
have
out
seen.
games.
I don't know if you've seen the stuff around the PlayStation franchise right now, but there's a big push for single player only games.
Interesting.
I mean, I guess that's a whole nother beast in itself to talk about, is the market moving from, like, all back when I was younger it was all single player games. Then, I mean, Warcraft started having these multiplayer matches, and then all of a sudden Diablo 2 came out and you're multiplayering, and then all of a sudden WoW fucking destroyed everything. I blame WoW, by the way, for the reason why the MMO market sucks.
Good game.
Oh, I blame WoW too, but it's not their fault. It's everybody else's fault for fucking copying
the wrong parts of it.
The wrong
Still
parts.
is somewhat their fault. Because
Square Enix, I'm looking at you.
I think Dee said this before, and that they need to focus on one thing and make it really good and stop trying to.
Well, that's why you mentioned Ashes of Creation. They're focused on like one fucking thing, and that's just the thing, you know.
Yeah.
But the problem is they want to make all the monies.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting a little off track. We're just talking about MMOs in general now.
All right, so I'll bring us back in with my last point, or my last sidetrack. I think that'll be a good little conversation piece. What do you guys feel on the payment scheme here? Should it be monthly, separate from new WoW? Should it be buy to play? Should it be free to play? What do you think?
Well, I can almost tell you what they're going to do. Then again, when they announced this at BlizzCon, when people were asking questions, it sounded like it was something that they had decided to do about a week ago, and they were like, all right, let's throw a trailer together and announce it at BlizzCon. We don't have any answers for any of the questions we're going to get asked, but let's just go ahead and make the trailer so that we can get the word out there that we're actually doing this. What they said that caught my attention was server option for classic WoW. So in my mind, you in your battle.net launcher, or whatever the hell it's called now, you have all your Blizzard games. I don't think there's going to be a separate one for classic WoW. I think you're going to have your regular WoW one, you hit play, you connect, and when you go to select what server you want to play on, you have either live servers or current servers, and then you have your classic server, kind of like you have PvP and PvE. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking it's going to be part of the $15 a month, and if I had to venture a guess, I'm going to say that they're probably going to require you to have them at least have the like right now it would be you don't have to have Legion, but you have to have the base game, which would include everything up to Legion.
Nice. And I actually agree with
I
that.
guess if you buy the base game, you get all the expansions.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense.
But it's a
I had
beautiful
actually
way to
thought of
tie them in to one another.
It is, and I really think that actually, if now that Blizzard finally decided to do this, I think it's actually going to be good for players who haven't played retail in a long, long time to actually say, you know what, I'm just going to go try it. I can get up to level whatever and make enough money to buy it, to buy the actual most recent expansion from just farming gold for a couple hours. So let me go do that. I'm just going to buy it. I'm kind of burnt out on Classic. Let me see what this hubbub is all about.
Well, I hadn't actually thought of that sort of concept, but that really would bring people to like, oh, hey, why don't I just try the new game too?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's going to get a lot of... Well, I think there's a lot of people... I guess there's really three schools of people. There's the people who only want Classic and don't give a crap about anything else.
That's me.
There's the school of people who are all about the live and don't want to hear any bullshit about Classic. And then there's the people who play live but also want to play Classic, like myself. And I think that as time goes on, you're going to get more people who are just about live, and they're going to go, you know what? I'm kind of burnt out. I don't really know what to do, so let me just hop over. Since I already pay for the Classic servers.
In between patches, maybe.
Exactly. Like when you have the 14-month content drought because they're getting ready for the next expansion and they don't have any resources on the current game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? I've been doing this for 6 months. Let me go try something else. Let me go back to Classic.
Let me go to my slow burn character. Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's probably where I'm going to put the most of my time in, is when I get bored of live, and then I'll hop back to Classic, because even in Classic, like even if like the latest raid tier is AQ, I mean, you can still go in and it still feels impactful to run Molten Core, and it still feels impactful to run Zul'Gurub and Blackwing Lair and all these other raids. But like in retail, it's like if you're not doing the most up-to-date raid, it feels like you're just doing it to get gear to be able to do the next one, or it's just a waste of time.
Oh, we gotta talk about cycles, dude.
Yeah, that was something that I'm worried and excited for.
Let's stay on cost, because I have a few more things to say about that. But in that, we got to get to cycles.
It's on my notes, so
Nice.
we'll definitely get there. But yeah, that. Long story short, that's what I think they're going to do. You have to have at least the base game, and you have to pay the $15 a month to play Classic. That's what I think they're going to do.
Right. And can we just tell people to stop fucking arguing? Like, can we say that? Can we say the word fucking? I'm like, you can
say
this out.
you can say it, yeah.
Okay, well, tell people to stop fucking arguing. Like, people from live right now who hate the Classic people, it's like, dude, they're gonna be paying a sub that they might not have paid before. That's more money going into the product that's gonna be made for you in live, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's a win-win everywhere if people just like work together and be like, yeah, you guys have your own thing going on, and we'll keep playing live, and you make us money.
It doesn't make sense to me why there's so many people so butthurt about the fact that people want to play the older game. I mean, yes, there are people that just want to play it for nostalgia reasons, but fuck, man, how many times has Skyrim been re-released because it's a good fucking game? How many times has Ocarina of Time been re-released because it's a good fucking game? I mean, there are games from the past that are better than what current games are making.
Yeah, it's
why can't you believe that it's also true for an MMO?
Well, right, and another thing MMOs can't do is they can't just pin a product and say and cut it like, okay, here's the beginning, we're gonna cut it here and we're gonna sell this.
Yeah,
as a piece.
It's not like
It's
we can't go and I can't go back and find my old vanilla WoW discs, pop them in my computer, install it, and go play.
Right, it's not like
WoW
Diablo 2 or something, right?
Yeah, it's like it's not like my Nintendo 64 that's sitting behind me. I can go pop in Ocarina of Time and play until morning.
Right.
I can't do that with classic WoW. I mean, sure, there are private servers, but every fucking time I play, 2 weeks later, it gets shut down.
Right. And that's a bummer, because like honestly, that's a really good thing for them. Like like maybe if this is successful, this brings me back to my other point. Like if this is successful, other companies might be like, hey, maybe it's a good idea if we like,
Well,
lock our product and then like allow the players to move on to the next expansion if they want.
Blizzard's not the first company to do this though. RuneScape did it.
Okay, well you should
RuneScape.
educate us on that.
Well, I never played RuneScape. I've only heard through the grapevine what happened. Apparently there's RuneScape, and then there was a huge update in like RuneScape 2, and they shut down the original RuneScape, and then people were up in arms about it because so many people thought the original one was so much better. Eventually, they just opened the servers back up for the original RuneScape. So I mean, it wasn't as much of an issue with how WoW is because it's just been a progression of the same game and not a full new re-release of the game. But but yeah, okay. So Josh, do you have any thoughts on how they're gonna do payment?
No, I really hadn't thought much about it. They're definitely not. I guess your way is almost free to play, but they're definitely not going to go that route.
Oh hell no! It's Blizzard. Come on, they need a way to make money off of their product. This is why we don't see anything for Diablo 3 because they don't have a way to make money off of it.
I think we all like subscriptions, right? Everybody here.
Yeah, I am actually a huge fan of subscription-based games because it means that you're going to be getting content.
Yeah, and you're getting it like a significant amount of players that want to be there. They're not just there, to goof around or shoot with other people. They're paying $15 a month. They obviously want to, do something.
They want to make it worthwhile. So we were talking about, I guess it's not really progression, but well, how would you say it?
What's that?
The server. Well, okay, so
What'd you say earlier, D?
I was talking about the cycles thing.
the cycles. Thank you. Cycles,
Actually,
yes.
I heard somebody call it seasons, and I really like that. Like it reminds me of like a football season or something. Like
Well, that's the PvP, right?
right, but you would have like your pre-shows or whatever, your pre-games or whatever, and then you go into like your first quarter, your second quarter seasons. Like you would like move on down to your your championship games, and like they could totally do something similar with this, but with patch cycles, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like the patch cycles. I really hope that they keep the same structure for patch cycles. I don't care if there's a longer wait time between patches than there was in vanilla, because they have to actually go and say, okay, we need to redo all this coding because the server architecture is completely different. We need to make sure it all works. We need to do more testing, blah blah blah. I'm fine with it taking longer. I'm fine with them reducing it, as long as they keep the patch cycles the same and they don't go, okay, here's every single raid, every single feature and everything all at once. Here, go play. I'd be upset if they did that.
Yeah, it would ruin a lot of the experience, I think, especially because I come from that world PvP standpoint. I think it would just crush it. It wouldn't exist.
This had a lot of world PvP aspects to it, but the opening of the gates of Ankaraaj, like that.
Can you imagine, dude? Like,
could you imagine if they just build up? But could you imagine if they skipped that completely? Think of all the exciting times that you would miss. Like, there was so much world PvP that happened. There was, I mean, just the event itself was just so engaging because you had to, like, being there for when the actual event occurred after collecting all those resources. I missed it because I was in school, but still.
Dude, I read up about it. I get a little torque just thinking about it. Like going in and turning in all those mats and then waiting for the doors to open.
Yeah, like
exciting stuff.
If they just skipped that, then I mean, I'd be a little bit upset.
Yeah.
But that's something I'm excited for and worried about, like I was saying before. Something else is the world bosses. They technically there still are world bosses, but they're like face rolls now. You just find a random group, kill it. Nobody says a word to each other, like we were talking about with dungeons and stuff. But I mean, world bosses back in the day, it took a 40-man raid group that was cohesive enough to do Blackwing Lair to be able to get a world boss down. Like it took coordination. You couldn't just face roll through them.
Yeah, I briefly read about them. Is it more guild based?
It is. It's still more guild based stuff. But the really cool thing, I mean, and this happened to my guild a lot because I played on Kill Jaden back in the day, and there's slightly more Horde than Alliance, and I was on the Alliance side. Every time we would go to do a world boss, we'd wipe all, like we'd be wiping for like an hour. Then we finally get whatever mechanic that whoever was fucking up right, and then look, there's a Horde guild, entire 40-man raid off to our left. All come running in and just kill us all. Let the boss reset, they pull, they kill him.
Right.
So I mean, it's stuff, and the world bosses were on timers too, like, and they were long timers. It wasn't like, okay, he died, he'll be back up in 5 minutes, let's just wait.
Right.
No, it was like I don't know the exact numbers, but it was a while before the boss would actually respawn. It was like
read horror stories of people just setting off AoEs for hours.
Yeah.
Just waiting to get to the pick, when it comes in.
Yep, exactly. Like, you would just... it was... Yeah.
Josh is like, ew. Just ew.
So, what do you guys think about the lifespan that this is going to have? Like, do you think it'll be successful enough to where Blizzard will keep on rolling with Classic? Do you think it'll be successful enough for them to do a Burning Crusade server? Do you think, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's going to continue? Do you think in 13 years we're going to have another Classic WoW server come out?
Well, I would hope they just keep going with it, right?
It's a natural progression. Why not?
I would hope they don't just keep the same Classic server that is always the same. I would hope that it gets expanded.
That's what the seasons, right? Like,
well, I'm hoping that they treat expansions like, I'm kind of hoping that if they could find a way to like make the game not feel like shit and still be able to like roll into new expansion like every 12 to 18 months, so that way you're not always going to be the same amount of expansions behind on that server.
Right. Can you imagine that getting wiped and then like you're challenging yourself to do it again but faster, or doing it again but getting stronger? Maybe you didn't make it to the end, now you kind of want to try that.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I feel like that could help with the lifespan of Classic servers. I think it would be really cool if say they do find a way to make the game feel actually good, and they just do it in 12-month cycles. But instead of resetting the server, they roll the server into a Burning Crusade server. So they actually follow it. Okay, Classic, we started this Classic server on December 20th, 2017. In a year's time, December 21st of 2018, we roll into a Burning Crusade server. We have Burning Crusade for a year, and then it just keeps going and going and going until it catches up with live.
Okay.
And then every year...
I hope it wouldn't catch up with live. Like,
well, if that's
behind.
That's why you do it in 1 year increments, so that way eventually it would.
I'd prefer two. I get what you're saying.
Well, if you do two, it'll always be 13 years behind. Like, I don't think that World of Warcraft is going to last for 50 years, but just for argument's sake, if in 26 years, in like another 13 years from now, if you stayed on that character, on that realm, you'd be playing Legion right now instead of Dragons of Tarkir. I know that's a Magic thing, but imagine that's the next expansion.
Okay.
In 13 years, you'd still be 13 years away from getting there.
Yeah.
But the other reason why I say that is because I feel like at some point it's going to become to where all the people that want to play Classic WoW are not going to have the means to actually be able to play it. So they're going to need to look for incentives if they actually want Classic servers to stay a thing. They're going to have to find incentives for people to say, hey, come back and try what the game used to be like, guys. And what are those incentives going to look like? Are they going to be like mounts? Are they going to be like specific transmog armor? And how do you actually say, okay, this person only plays classic,
right?
And say for PvP, at the end of the lifespan of the classic server, they were the number one PvPer on the entire server.
Right.
What reward are they going to get? Is it something that they're going to be, will it be on their account? And will they be able to use it when they start another classic server? Or will they be able to use it if they go to a live server? Like, there's a whole bunch of questions like that I feel are
very important stuff. I mean,
yeah, like I feel like a lot of people aren't going to want to, like, there's going to be people that are like, oh yeah, I'll go and try it, and then they'll get to like level 25 and then be like, yeah, okay, that's enough, I played enough. But really, we all know that level 25 is barely scratching the surface of classic.
Yeah, but I also think that if they don't if they don't restart it, I think you're going to get a lot of people in between launch and whenever they close that cycle. People aren't going to want to start up in between, right? Like, they're going to wait for it to restart again, or they're going to wait for like that beginning to kick in, right? So that they can start up and play with the rest of the group. You know, I feel like that's really important.
That's why I feel like it rolling into cycles would be good ideas, like rolling from a classic to a Burning Crusade to a Wrath of the Lich King, because there are private servers for Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. Like, even the shitty expansions like Cataclysm has private servers.
Do they
Warlords
restart
of
them at
Draenor,
any point? Or?
I don't know if they restart. They're probably, to be quite honest, if a private server lasts long enough for it to actually go through the entire patch cycle, I'd be impressed. Before it gets shut down by either Blizzard or by the people running it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it as far as I know, it hasn't been a problem yet because nobody's gotten through the entire patch cycle of an expansion.
Wow. I just feel like it would be so much better if they did that, because it'd give people multiple shots at trying out Classic the way it was meant to be tried out.
Right.
Well, I don't think I explained myself well either, because I feel like, so once you get that classic server to roll into a Burning Crusade, you would have another classic server start fresh.
Yeah, that's good.
So one last thing I want to talk about was the actual release date. I know in our anticipated games of 2018, I said I don't think it'll actually be out in 2018, but I'm hoping it will be. The reason why I say that is because, like I mentioned before, at BlizzCon, it seemed like they had just made the decision to go ahead and do this, and they didn't have any kind of answers for any of the questions people were asking. When's it going to be released? Are you going to change anything? They didn't have an answer for any of the questions they were asking. Are you going to update graphics? I don't know. I mean, Nova, what do you feel would be a reasonable time frame for them to release this?
Man, I was thinking 2018, but I can see it going longer. But on the other hand, it's so easy to do, you would assume.
Well, see, a lot of people think it's really easy, but for a company of their size, if they put a shit ton of assets towards it, they could probably have it done in 2 or 3 months. But there's all these questions that they need to ask, like, do we need to do this? Do we need to do this? Do we, like I was saying, do we put in the updated graphics? Do we not? If we do,
sounds like they are though. But
well, so if they do, are we gonna also have the option to turn off the updated graphics for the people who don't want it? What are we gonna do about summoning stones at instances in raids? What are we gonna do about the barbershop? Are we gonna let people keep the barbershop so that way people could go and change their haircuts? Are we gonna have quality of life changes? I hope to God they don't have transmog, but are we gonna have transmog? Like, there's a whole bunch of questions that even balance changes. Like, do you want to have Upper Blackrock Spire be a 15-man raid, a 10-man raid, or a 5-man instance? Like, there's all these questions and changes that Classic WoW had that they need to know. Like, okay, do you want it to actually follow the progression of, like, okay, it was a 20-man, then it was a 15, then it was a 10, and then eventually it became a 5. Do you want the patch cycle to actually follow that, or do we want it to just say, okay, it's a 10-man raid from start to finish? Like questions like that. And then on top of that, are we going to integrate this with the Battle.net client? Are we going to be able to whisper people who are playing Overwatch while we're playing Classic WoW? Like that there itself could take a little while to do. Because there was none of that in Classic WoW. I mean, I don't even remember when the first expansion came out that had that kind of stuff in it. It might have been Mists of Pandaria. I'm not 100% sure. But I mean, it was... Actually, I think it was Cataclysm now that I think about it. But like, there's a lot of questions that they have to ask themselves and they have to ask the community about what they actually want. So that's why I'm fearing that there's no way in hell it's going to get done in 2018. I'm thinking... So when they announced WoW initially, it took them 3 years after they announced it to release it. I'm hoping that by early to mid 2019 we'll have some sort of beta to be testing to make sure that there's no bugs or anything on the new servers and crap like that. So I'm hoping by the end of not 2018 but 2019, like fourth quarter 2019, I'm hoping we'll get it. That's how far out I think it's going to be. Not very optimistic, but I'm trying to be realistic within being in the realms of positivity that this is actually going to happen.
Right.
I could see why people would say it'd be easy, because to do what private servers have been doing, yeah, sure, that's easy, but Blizzard...
And they have the back end and the people, but...
Yeah, they definitely have the manpower, and they have the capital to hire more manpower if they need it. It's just... They're going to want to make sure that it's a Blizzard quality experience, and just throwing this up on a server and adding another tab to the Battle.net launcher, that's not going to be a quote-unquote Blizzard-like experience, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So that's why I feel like they're not going to... That's why it's going to take a while, but what do I know? I'm just a nub. I hope you guys enjoyed this over a beer. I hope you guys didn't sit on your asses in front of the computer for too long. We warned you it was going to be a podcast type video, so you should have listened to us. But in any case, we will catch you all in the next one, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay thirsty, friends.
Later, scrubs.
Hey, it's Radit here. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel. We put out multiple new videos each week and we appreciate all of your support. Thanks for watching, everyone, and cheers.